Greetings, fellow quitters, and welcome back to the Command Q podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Maari Casey.
And I'm John Pelfrey.
So summertime is upon us, and with a lot of us spending more time with our families or going out of office to travel, we are switching up our pace a bit. Today, we're back with a more bite-sized food for thought for the quitter on the go. This is one that hits close to home for a lot of us, so it's quit hitting the snooze button. So just for our warm-up, John, what's the worst thing you've ever slept through?
Tornado?
You slept
Probably.
through a tornado?
I don't know if it was a tornado or not. It was definitely heavy downdraft, 70, 80 plus mile per hour winds. I know I've slept through a hurricane once because hurricanes last a while. And I do remember being close to the beach and sleeping one night, at least a little bit, while, 100 mile an hour winds were rolling around. So I would say storms of some kind.
Yeah.
When you grow up sort of in the flat areas of the Midwest, heavy storms, downdrafts, tornadoes, things like that are just kind of a fact of life. And, the most deadly ones are the ones that happen at night. Thankfully, nothing went over my house or anything like that. But I've definitely heard really terrible horror stories about it.
Yeah. I do feel like hurricanes are kind of nice to sleep during. We live in North Carolina, so we have hurricane, at least the storm part of it, come through every year, if not once or twice a year during the summer. It's really nice because it's all steamy and it's like that breezy and it's, it's going to rain for 2 days. And so it's kind of like a snowstorm a little bit with a little more destruction mixed in. But I feel like hurricanes are actually a nice thing to kind of just snooze on until your power goes out. Then you have to just snooze.
Well, that's part of the trick, right? Is once the power goes out, you've got nothing to do but sleep. Really, that and board games. But if it's dark and it's nighttime, you've got candles. Even reading is hard. So yeah, you tend to go to bed kind of early, assuming that, it kind of stays steady and the rain. I mean, the rain's probably the most dangerous part of a hurricane, right? And the flooding and all that. So if you pay attention to that and that you're in a safe place, but when the wind picks up and things get scary, you will wake up automatically.
Yeah. Sleep in the basement. That's when you sleep in the basement.
Yeah. Sleep in the basement. I've definitely spent some nights in the basement in Kentucky, when we thought that there might be really bad weather, we would all crash down in the basement. So
yeah,
that's definitely a real thing. And if you live in the sort of open plains area, of the Midwest or whatever, and you don't have a house with a basement, I don't know. You're sort of asking for trouble, I think, in a lot of ways.
Probably not snoozing through the storm in that case.
You really are not. You really are not. But I would never live in that area. I'd prefer to live in an older house that has a basement over a newer house that doesn't, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd slept through. I mean, I'm trying to think if I slept through anything. This makes me sound like a real stick in the mud if I haven't slept through anything major. But even in college, I feel like maybe I slept through. I had a math class in college, and math was not my strong subject. I was an English and art major, so I kind of took the math that I had to take before I graduated. And that class, I think it was at 8 or 9 o'clock, which now in my adult life is not early. But in my college life, I had lifting at 6 a.m. So I would be getting up early to go lift. So then I'd be kind of tired and sleepy and sweaty and whatever. And so I remember I do remember one time I went back to my room to just lay down for a few bits and fell asleep and missed that class, which didn't kill me that much, again, because I wasn't super concerned about that class. Yeah. But I don't think there's been much that I've really, that I had slept through. So I'm pretty diligent about getting up. I can set my internal clock and be get me up at 7 a.m. and I'm pretty much up. So
yeah, you're an early riser for sure, which, I mean, good for you. I have the opposite problem. I will hit the snooze a bunch of times, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Am I a chronic snooze hitter? Yeah, I am. My college roommate can attest to that. Adam used to get really frustrated with me because I would wake up and hit the snooze, and then 8 minutes later, it'd do it again, and then 8 minutes later again, and then I'd finally wake up. And if he didn't have a class and he was trying to sleep, but I was like, sorry, buddy, I'm a slow waker. And even now, I have a sleep app on my phone and it gently wakes me up. And all I have to do is pick up my phone and put it back down in order to kick the snooze back on. And so I will do that. And it does it in 20-minute increments.
That's gratuitous.
Yeah. But on the mornings when I know I need to get up, my body clock will just automatically get me up even an hour before the alarm would go off. It's weird. There's anxiety sleeping in that way. I don't know. That's probably a whole other topic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm not a snooze hitter. I wasn't a big alarm clock person because I can kind of set my own internal clock, but did have a roommate in post college who was a chronic snoozer, and we lived in a loft space, and it was so anytime her alarm went off, everybody woke up and she would just hit it. I mean, she would hit it for probably an hour and a half. It was infuriating.
Wow.
And drove us absolutely crazy. And I do think it's, it's kind of like you're one or the other a lot of times, but it is like the times I have hit snooze, I always end up regretting it because I feel like my little extra 15 minutes of sleep, which I wanted so badly, ends up punishing me for the rest of the day because I didn't sleep and wake up well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm a max 2 snooze person now, but still, that's probably too many. So before we hopped on here, I asked Claude AI, what some of the problems were with hitting the snooze, and it came up with some interesting stuff. It basically said that your sleep inertia gets worse. So that's the groggy feeling that you feel when you wake up. If you hit the snooze and then you do that again, it's actually, you get more groggy, apparently, every time you do it. And that is because it screws up your circadian rhythm and your sleep cycle. And in that sleep cycle situation, you just stay in like a light sleep and you never drift back off and get the deep sleep because you don't have time to. And so it's really just kind of wasted time. That's ultimately kind of what Claude says. And then at the end talks about it, becoming a bad habit. The more you hit the snooze button, the more you will continue to do it. And so it's this weird, like, perpetuating problem where you do it and then you just keep hitting it more and then your sleep gets worse. And then it's just a downward spiral cycle from there.
Yeah.
So Claude recommends that a better approach is to set your alarm for the latest possible time you actually need to get up. And then place your alarm on the other side of the room so that you have to physically get out of bed.
I heard that too.
Yeah.
They also have those alarm clocks that you have to like they start running around or like they like RC car style. You have to like get out and like really you go through a complicated, like puzzle box equation to turn it to get it. So it's like it's mentally waking up. I think that's for the extreme snoozers. I think it is nice to have an alarm that is maybe not within like immediate arm's reach. You have to go to the bathroom and turn it off or something like that. But yeah, it's definitely those, you feel like it's going to be a really good quality. Like, I'm so tired. Just this extra little bit will be like the icing on the sleep cake. And it ends up being not worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, we're all familiar with like, just 5 more minutes, Mom, just 5 more minutes. I will tell you that if I had to solve a puzzle in order to turn my alarm clock off, I would just break the puzzle.
Right.
Like, I would
pick the puzzle, throw the puzzle out the window.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I would do well at that. My patience in the morning before my coffee is probably the thinnest of any point in the day. It's just like, give me my caffeine and then I will, but I wake up slowly. And even when I don't hit the snooze and I wake up naturally and all of that, it still takes me a good 45 minutes to an hour before I feel like my brain is sort of starting to click into gear.
Yeah.
And I can't work or do anything that involves real thought for at least 2 hours after I wake up. I've tried, and if I'm like, desperate and there's a deadline and I had to do something, I could definitely do it because I could jack up my adrenaline to have to do that thing. But on like a normal day, if I try to type an email within an hour of waking up, it's just going to be a bunch of gibberish.
Yeah. So no puzzles for you, no complicated puzzles or math equations during the morning hours. I feel like my most clear times are in the morning, which is probably why I'm a non-snoozer and I'm a semi-early riser. I mean, my husband gets up at like 4:30 and then he does also snooze, which is kind of annoying because I don't want to get up at 4:30, but we're both up pretty early. And so once I kind of go through that 30 minutes of adjustment, then I'm like clear and ready to get it done. But it definitely, I think for me, I realized once I started having kids, I realized like I need to maximize my time in the morning. And also kids make you get up early. Well, that's obvious. But like maximize my time in the morning to get stuff done, because if I delay it, then I'm going to lose the afternoon because of various activities. I think that's one thing when you're young and you don't have kids, you don't have all that stuff. Like you can sleep in late because what happens is you sleep in late and then you stay up late. I go to bed early and I get up early. I can't imagine staying up late and having to get up early. I think that would be really tough.
Yeah, that would be really rough. Agreed. I will say, though, that as I've aged, my bedtime naturally is earlier. And so I'm waking up a little bit earlier. And I guess that's natural. I hear that that's normal.
After the Wheel of Fortune is off and before the Today Show comes on, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have noticed, I've been tracking my sleep now for like 9 years with the same sleep app. They have really good data on me and my sleep. So I've contributed to whatever sleep study that they're doing. I should be one of their star people. They should give me the subscription for free at this point. But the data, basically everything I've read says that regularity in the time that you go to bed is the number one most important thing for good sleep. So you want to have a consistent bedtime, and then that will result over the long term in a consistent amount of sleep every night, and you'll start to wake up more consistently in the morning. And what I've noticed is the earlier that I go to bed, the more often I will wake up sort of at first light, whenever that is, when the light starts to crack through the window. So in the summertime, it's obviously pretty early. And then in the wintertime, it might be 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
I feel better when I wake up like that with the light.
I think that's really true. I mean, it's like that is like baked into our humanness is, to follow the patterns of the sun. And it's, we're going to talk about a little bit about our sleep habits, but I in the winter, it's much more of a struggle because it's cold, it's dark. Your room is like this little warm cave of blankets. I've tried to use the sleep. There's like an app on my phone too that it kind of starts to wake up with light. So it like turns on. And that's helpful, as long as it's like facing me. And I think one of the things that in the summer, it's much easier, almost annoyingly, because a bird starts chirping at like 5 a.m. and you're just like, I just want to sleep until 5:30. But that's like a really nice thing is to have they have natural like light alarm clocks if you want to like wake up with light. And then in the morning when I get up, after everybody's out, I will right away make our bed or make my bed and trying to have the kids make the bed. And then I've started doing this in the last like month or two is going out. They call it solar gazing, which is like a fancy way to say look at the sun. But I'll go out with my coffee. I'll get my coffee. I'll go right to the porch because the sun comes up around right now around 7 a.m. ish, 7:30, and just kind of look in the direction of the sun coming up. And it's supposed to help kick your circadian rhythms into like it is now morning time and kind of reset the day. And I do feel like having those the things that I do every single morning help me to like not snooze, because then I feel like I've accomplished a lot. I got up, made my bed, had my coffee, had a little quiet time. So it does kind of encourage me to keep those things going on the regular and not fall into like sleeping in. And I still sleep in occasionally, but sleeping for me is like 7:30. But it does help to have something that motivates you to feel like a little bit of success in the morning. And for me, that's like doing those 3 or 4 ritualistic type of things each day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everybody has a morning routine, even if you don't realize you have one. If you think you don't, you do. Everyone, you sleepwalk your way through it and you just don't realize it. I definitely have some bad habits in the morning and I have some good habits that I do. But my bad habit is I am one of those people, like probably millions of people out there. I look at my phone first thing, which I shouldn't do. And I know I shouldn't, but I kind of just want to see what the news is, what's going on. What did I miss in the middle of the night? What the weather's going to be, all of that. But then I'll get up, I'll make the coffee, I'll cook my breakfast, do all those things. What I've been doing lately is in the Apple News app, there are a bunch of little mental games and things. And there's one called Quartiles. And it is like, it uses tiles for words, and you have to take 4 of these little tiles and string them together to make one big word. And you have to solve all 5 of them. The goal is to get over 100 points or whatever. And that helps wake my brain up. So instead of doing crossword puzzles in the morning or something like that, I've been playing this Quartiles game, and it's fun. I mean, I think that there's a lot of those things out there that people use to sort of mentally wake up, but it does kind of like kick the brain into like, oh, now I'm, thinking and processing and all that. And the other thing I do in the morning, I foam roll every morning. It's a nice, get the body moving, get things loosened up. As I get older, it's harder to move in the morning. Sometimes I'm like, waddling back and forth.
Oh, I can.
And then I'm like, okay, I need to get on the floor and foam roll, and then I can walk. But that's kind of my routine is, breakfast, Quartiles, foam roll, take a shower, and then I go work or whatever, whatever I need to do. But yeah, so what are some tools or some tips that people might have for like breaking up with the snooze alarm? What are some things that maybe we should know or think about?
Yeah, I feel like some of the things we just talked about, like giving yourself some kind of a routine or like a ritual that helps you feel successful. I guess for me, I feel like when I do sleep in, maybe I shouldn't feel, I feel a little bit like I lost a part of the day. Like I like to know, like I have all day, and Saturday I get up early too, because I'm like, I have all day to do fun Saturday stuff. And so when I sleep in, sometimes I'll feel bummed because I feel like I lost 3 or 4 hours of like fun time. So I think giving yourself something to do right away. Like, so get up, I'm going to get up and I'm going to make coffee. Or I'm going to get up and I'm going to sit outside. Like you don't necessarily have to be awake to do all of these things, but it just kind of gets you moving. Like take a small step forward. Like maybe you don't get up and say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to not hit the snooze button. I'm going to go run a 5K. Like start with something really small. Like I'm going to get up and I'm going to, jump in the showers. A lot of people do that to wake up, or like go get a coffee and sit on the porch. Like make it something you look forward to doing in the morning. I think that is helpful to have something like some kind of like special ritual that helps you like get out of bed.
Yeah, that's good. For me, I actually use the sleep cycle app that I use. It has a sleep cycle alarm where it utilizes it doesn't kick on until you sort of move a little bit or you hit that sort of light sleep level. So it won't come on when you're in the deep sleep. But as you start to rise out of that cycle, that last deep cycle, it will then come on once it knows that you're kind of shuffling around the bed. And so that has made a big difference for me. It gives you a window of like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And so it might wake you up a little earlier or a little bit later. And as long as you have that space in your morning for that, 40 minutes, window, it wakes you up sort of in the appropriate place in your sleep cycle. And that has made a huge difference. Really, really big, because then I'm not just like jarred into, whoa,
right.
Oh, I'm awake now,
Yeah.
Or back in the day before we had any of these smart, intelligent things, and it was like the alarm clock and you just get the bang.
Or that's the worst.
Want to throw it across the room. So that's one for me that's really, really helped me to get up and to feel more refreshed when I wake up, because if you wake up in the wrong part of your sleep cycle, that definitely can disorient you a lot. And I've done that a lot in my life, and it's pretty harsh. But yeah, so use that sort of like REM cycle alarm deal that's in your app that you use.
The apps are so amazing. I remember in college and in post-college, I was working like tracking my own sleep. And what I would do is just go to sleep at a normal time without like alcohol in my system, without anything crazy food, see how long I sleep, and then realize I'm sleeping in 3-hour cycles or 2-hour cycles. And then whenever I would go to bed, I need to wake up by 8 or 7. I'm going to backwards calculate my sleep, and that's when I need to be in bed. And that tended to really, really help. And now, of course, these is amazing apps and tools that you really can have that like staggered, awake window. And I think, and then you can also go back and look at like, okay, well, I went to bed at 10. When I usually go to bed at, 11, I slept better. My sleep cycles were more complete and I had a better time. So it gives you that data to actually really think about like how you can sleep better. And of course, if you're sleeping better, then you're less likely to hit the snooze. And I think it's, sleeping has become is like one of the in vogue topics, especially in the longevity discussion. And it's so valuable for us to look at the whole process of like where we're sleeping, how we're preparing for sleep, the temperature we're setting the room at. And that's all like an old person thing to think about, but all these parts like give you that quality of sleep. And it's like, I don't know that even but when I wake up and I'm like, oh man, I got 100% sleep tonight. I'm like, yeah, I crushed the sleep. It feels like a success because you're setting yourself up for a great day, which is awesome.
Yeah. And what's funny, I've noticed when you get 100, what it really is that you go to sleep relatively quickly and you wake up at the appropriate point in your sleep cycle. So, and that seems to be what boosts your score. But yeah, it does feel kind of good when you do that. Also getting around 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours of sleep seems to be the deal there. But yeah, the apps are really powerful. They're really amazing. I don't wear like a wearable device like a watch or a band or a ring or whatever all the different wearable things they have now. But it is next to my bed, and I guess it hears me when I'm sleeping. And that is the one downside to them, is some people might feel that that's intrusive or whatever. I mean, it'll track your snoring too, and I know that I snore, and so I turn that one off because I don't want to know how loud it is.
You don't want the evidence. You're like, I don't snore. No,
it's probably it might help me. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I just know when my wife like kicks me in the bed that I'm snoring too loud, and then I wake up. So that's my alarm for that. All right. Well, I think we've talked about this a lot. Any other sort of things to tie up here? Like, for instance, do you exercise first thing in the morning or early in the morning?
I am exercise almost every single day. And it's really, I get up, I get my coffee, I get a little something to eat, and I'm out the door, and usually exercising by 7:30, maybe 8 o'clock on the later side of things. But I usually do at least an hour-ish, an hour plus of working out every single day. And that to me is also what gives me the energy to the majority of my day. And also like mental health, I feel a lot better. If I don't work out, I don't feel as clear and as patient. And then I sleep really well. So that is something that's like, I got to get up because I got a class. I have something accountable to. I'm signed up for a class, or I'm meeting my trainer, or I'm meeting my friend to go running. So like having something else early in the morning scheduled also helps me to like get up and get going.
Yeah, definitely having a person you have to meet will motivate you to get up for sure. I don't tend to exercise a lot in the morning. I have one day a week where I exercise in the morning, but other than that, I'm an afternoon, evening exerciser. But I do all my recovery work in the morning. So I do my foam rolling and my meditation and any of the things that I need to work on I eat like 40 grams of protein in the morning. Like I do a lot of things in the morning to sort of help me recover from the exercise that I did the day before, the night before. And so everybody's a little bit different when it comes to that stuff, for sure. All right. And so then last question here, what's the earliest you will voluntarily schedule a meeting?
I mean, I try not to schedule anything before 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, because that workout time for me is such a priority. And then I don't want to feel rushed. I want to be able to come home, get showered off, get a good breakfast, and like get set for the day and like I listen to a podcast in the morning too. I want to be able to have that morning. And so I usually 9:30, 10, unless I'm like talking to somebody internationally and I need to try to get on the phone, then that always bums me out because I have to miss my workout or I have to push it off. So I try to like 9:30, 10 o'clock at the earliest.
Yeah. Yeah. Same for me. 9:30 is pushing it for me. 10:30 would be ideal, but 10 is fine. I can handle 10. I also like to have a little bit of time, before I get on the phone to sort of just gather my thoughts for the day. So if I start looking at my email at 9 or 9:15 and just start going through some basic things, it helps me to get to the point where I'm ready to talk to people, sort of mentally, but also I'm prepared and I know kind of a little bit about what's going on in the day and who needs what and all of that. But yeah, I remember I used to have a job where the first thing we would do is we'd have a stand up and it would be right when everybody got into the office. And it was just like, okay, stand up right now, bam. And that was sort of a harsh wake up moment for a lot of us.
Yeah.
I think to just go like first thing in the morning. So even things like stand up, I sort of feel like stand up would be beneficial maybe 30 minutes or an hour after sort of the normal time that people get into an office if you're working in an office. So if everybody gets there at 8:30, make your stand up 9:30. Don't make it 8:45.
Yeah.
But then people are still getting coffee and then give them enough time to read their email and figure out what's going on so that they don't have to read their email on their driving to work and potentially crash or whatever. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all for today. We hope that this episode gave you an idea of some good thoughts or ways to sort of quit hitting the snooze in the morning. We are going to continue with a couple of more of our quick quit series here in the summertime. And we'd love to hear from you if you have any other ideas for these types of episodes. You can visit us at commandqpodcast.com to learn more about joining the community of proud quitters and to check out our full episode library. You can also go to Spotify and to Apple Podcasts to listen as well. And we have started putting these videos up on YouTube too. So until next time, I'm John.
And I'm Maari.
And we're reminding you that quitters can win and winners can quit. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the guest's own and do not necessarily represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Command Q or Uncompany.